In the dark of the midnight have I hoped in my face, while the storm howls above me, and there's no hiding place. Mid the crash of the thunder, precious Lord, hear my cry. Keep me safe till the storm passes by. Till the storm passes over, till the thunder sounds no more, till the clouds roll forever from the sky. Hold me fast, let me stand in the hollow of thy hand. Keep me safe till the storm passes by.
And that is kind of going to be our theme for the next couple studies here till the storm passes by. Not all storms are rain and thunder. Many times they are spiritual storms, and we're crying out to God, asking him to keep us safe until we weather this storm by his help, by his grace. Say it with me, Psalm 118, verse 24, "This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." Remember Hebrews 3 and verse 13, "But exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin." We're talking about this idea of the pathway that leads to death, and that's been our subject for several studies now. The pathway is laid out in detail for us in James chapter 1, verses 13 through 16. And we've been looking at that and also trying to define and flesh out some of the terms that are used there in James. Let me just remind us of the process that James talks about there. James chapter 1, beginning in verse 13, "Let no one say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires or lusts and enticed. Then when desire or lust has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death." That's the process that we've been talking about. Today, I want us to. We spent a session in which we talked about lust. I think we incorporated that with some other information, but today I want us to think about lust and sin. The relationship between the two, and how the Bible warns us that lust leads to sin, and this slippery slope that it creates. In talking about lust and sin, I want us to first of all begin in Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus gives some revolutionary teaching on lust and sin, something that was new, and one of the ways in which he spoke with authority. So over in Matthew chapter 5, in the Sermon on the Mount, beginning in verse 27, Jesus said, "You have heard that it was said to those of old, 'You shall not commit adultery.'" Now, obviously, he's speaking there from Exodus chapter 20 and verse 14. That is the seventh commandment in the list of the 10 commandments. You shall not commit adultery. So he says, you've heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you, that's a statement of authority. Moses said this, but I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. So let's go back and think about verse 28. I say to you, whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Now, there's a great spiritual lesson that Jesus is teaching there, and that is the nature and the danger of lust. Well, we talked about lust in a previous study, and talked about how when a person strongly desires to do something unlawful, that has to do with temptation, but lust is when we actively entertain the thought of carrying out the temptation. And so in this case, the temptation is to sexual sin, to fornication. And Jesus says, when you look at a woman to lust for her, you've already committed adultery with her in your heart. And so that tells you how dangerous lust is. I don't, if we put Jesus' teaching here with James's teaching in James 1, I don't think that Jesus is saying it is the equivalent that, if you think it in your heart, it's the same as doing it. What he says is you have already committed adultery. And my understanding of that would be that the process has already begun, and you have it's the same as if you had gone ahead and done that, because you've started down the path. And this path, the best way I can think about it is if you were in like a big wagon, like maybe one of these old cotton trailers or something that was just made to roll. It didn't have brakes, and you were in that thing, and you have begun to lust, and that thing is sitting on the precipice of a hill, and it is leaning over the hill, and that lust is pushing you over that hill in this cart with no brakes. That's what lust does. And if you can imagine, if that cart goes over, if it starts down that hill, what's going to stop it? That's the thing. That's the thing about lust. It starts us down a path that can sometimes be virtually impossible to stop because of we've allowed temptation and plans to go too far. God's given us all kinds of opportunities to stop this at various points along the way, and we've failed. And that's why Jesus says when a man looks at a woman to lust for her, when he's actively entertaining those thoughts and how he can carry them out, and where he'll carry them out, and what it will be like when he carries them out, and all those kinds of things, he started over the precipice. And the next thing that's going to happen is he's going to commit the actual act of fornication with her. And that's why he says, do whatever it takes to stop the process. He says, pluck out your eye if your right eye causes you to offend. Now, I don't think this is a literal thing, because what does the right eye do that the left eye doesn't do? I mean, if I pluck the right eye out, the left eye is going to look on a woman just the same. And the fact of the matter is, if I pluck both my eyes out, I can still I can look on a woman just with the thoughts in my head with no vision in my eyes at all. And so I don't think that's a literal thing that he's saying there. What he's saying is take the most drastic steps that are necessary to get rid of that before it ruins you. A couple passages that I think would fall in line here and help us understand what Jesus is talking about. For example, Job. Job said in Job chapter 31, I have made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I look upon a young woman? If I've decided in my mind I'm not going to commit adultery, why would I ever begin the process by looking on a woman? I shouldn't start down the road, because there are places in the road that it's virtually impossible to stop. I know that, especially as a man, the desires that a man has. I don't know what it's like for a woman. They tell me it's different. But I have to think that this teaching is universal. If we look over at Proverbs 23 and verse 7, this is a passage that I'm afraid gets explained incorrectly sometimes. If we go back to verse 6, the wise man says, do not eat the bread of a miser, nor desire his delicacies. And if I show the footnote on the word miser, it's literally one who has an evil eye. Aha! That's the same thing that Jesus was talking about in Matthew 5. It's the eye. Do not eat the bread of a miser, or one who has an evil eye, nor desire his delicacies, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. The morsel you've eaten you will vomit up and waste your pleasant words. Sometimes I hear people talk about this, as he thinks in his heart, so is he, as if that is a call to always think good things in your heart. Now, whether that is true or not, that if we think good things in our heart, we'll be good people. Whether or not that's true, that is not what this passage is about. What this passage, verse 7, is saying is, whatever this miser, this one with an evil eye, says, whatever he says with his mouth, that's not what he is. What he is what's in his heart. So our hearts are what have to be guarded. That's why Jesus over in Mark chapter 7 and beginning in verse 18 warns us about this. After they ask about why his disciples didn't follow the tradition of the elders and wash their hands before they eat, not for physical purification, but for spiritual purification. He said, later the disciples asked him to explain what he said there. He says, are you thus without understanding also? Do you not perceive that whatever enters a man from outside cannot defile him, because it does not enter his heart, but his stomach, and is eliminated, thus purifying all food? So things that you take in do not go into your heart, not physical things anyway. He said, what comes out of a man, that defiles a man. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lewdness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile a man. So it's the heart, and it's where my eye is looking, that helps define where my heart is. 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 14. Peter talks about those false teachers, how depraved they are. He says, having eyes full of adultery that cannot cease from sin, enticing unstable souls. They have a heart trained in covetous practices and are accursed children. You see, again, the relationship between the eye and the heart. The eye sees and takes into the heart, and then the heart becomes evil, and out of that evil heart, eventually sin is committed. Where we focus our minds, that's the direction that we're going to go. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 22. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? What this means is we've got to concentrate our eyes, concentrate and focus our attention on that which is good, to fill our hearts with those good things, so that that's who we really are. And then out of that good heart, out of what we really are, then good things will be brought forth. It's a matter of what we really are, and making sure that lust is not a part of our lives by filling ourselves with that which is good and keeping ourselves from that which is evil. Do whatever it takes, Jesus says. It's like plucking out an eye or cutting off an arm. I hope these things will help us to restrain ourselves. Remember that word that we looked at earlier, lewdness or lasciviousness, is unrestrained, undisciplined behavior. What we're talking about is doing those things that would be restrained behavior. I hope that these things will help us to live the kind of lives that the Lord wants from us. You want to talk more about this? Use the comment section on Facebook or YouTube. Use Facebook Messenger. Send an email to us. We'll be glad to talk at length about these things. We want to always invite you to come and be a part of the assemblies here at the Stone Ridge Church of Christ. Check out our website at stoneridgechurchofchrist.com. You can link to these studies as well as sermons, songs, and so much more. So be sure and check that out. Hey, until next time, if the Lord gives us life and gives us another opportunity, I hope that you all have a great day, that you will watch what your eyes see, what your ears hear. Let your heart be filled with that which is good, so that you'll produce good fruit, good results for the Lord.
When the long night has ended and the storms come no more, let me stand in thy presence on that bright, peaceful shore, in that land where the tempest never comes. Lord, may I dwell with thee when the storm passes by, till the storm passes over, till the thunder sounds no more, till the clouds roll forever from the sky. Hold me fast, let me stand in the hollow of thy hand. Keep me safe till the storm is by.